So Upworthy writes, the seemingly correct answer on a kid's math test has the internet up in arms. The test question asks kids to solve 5 times 3 using repeated addition. Under this method, the correct answer is 5 groups of 3, not 3 groups of 5. The question is typical of Common Core, but many questioning this type of standardized testing and how it affects learning. After this photo, the test was uploaded, and many took to voicing their opinions on both sides of the argument. One commenter took up the side of the student and saying, as an instructor, I'm actually happy to see what I see people finding alternative ways to solve the problems. Another said, actually, the teacher is correct. 5 times 3 means 5 times the number 3, or 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. Understand, we are not in the room when this was taught. Another thing that we can all agree upon about is that 5 plus 5 plus 5 is that it equals another number. So how much people another example of how much people on the internet love to argue. So what's your take? And I read, this is why a classroom is the worst possible way to learn math. I saw this and I've got a problem with it already. This 5 times 3 should mean, 5 groups of 3. It should be rewritten. The question should not be use repeated addition to solve 5 times 3. It should be use repeated addition to solve 5 groups of 3. The question itself is poorly worded, and thus this particular problem is booby-trapped. It's a trick question. The grading practice risks penalizing students for not inferring an unstated convention rather than assessing whether they understand multiplication. That's my complaint about it at this point. Simply because this worksheet right here, it's not clear. The answer to this would be ambiguous. Both are valid reasoning. The problem with it all is that it's not clear whether we're talking, that this is supposed to be, the number of, groups, and that this is supposed to be the amount of items in each group. That convention is not stated on the worksheet itself. Considering SRS strategies or spaced repetition, that too much time would have passed between the class and actually doing this particular piece of homework. So that would in of itself create problems from a spaced repetition standpoint. And then the fact is that they're not prompting the student to define ultimately on the worksheet itself the convention and everything. And so it is the teacher's fault for picking a shitty, book to pull these questions out of. It's not a quality or substantive enough one. If our courses contain these kinds of trick questions and booby traps, then the courses and the instruction material chosen for them is the problem. This question is incredibly poorly worded, to say the least, and it should specify that it's looking for 5 groups of 3 so that this becomes clear. And the same to the other one, and everything. Draw an array to show 4 groups, 4 times 6, which should be rewritten to say draw an array to show 4 groups of 6. The problem is a poorly worded question rather than, the student's answer. The Common Core book here sucks, and it's of piss poor quality, and it's the teacher's fault for picking such a shitty book. That's my my view of it and everything of this particular thing, because the 4 times 6 is not clear enough. It should say 4 groups of 6 instead, but it doesn't do that.